Noob Review.
My name's Tommy Jacob. I'm the creative director on Ghost Recon Future Soldiers multiplayer.
Do you have to feedback a lot with the content you have in the game to the military? And are there any points where the military says you can't really have that because our enemies will find out that we're doing that?
I don't believe that there's anything that they tell us that's that top secret. I mean, we've certainly had guys that have seen things and have had conversations that they're asked not to repeat, but it's not as if the military is sharing with us something that is so top secret that it would put national security at risk. I mean, at the end of the day, we're still game developers. I mean, they're not going to take something that's that secretive and just drop it on the table for us. But we do have, we've done interviews with some of our Secret Service authenticity connections that we will disguise the voice and we mask them out because they're still members of active special forces. I said Secret Service, special forces soldiers that don't want their identities known. So, but they're not necessarily divulging plans for future development that would put them at risk in terms of enemies, enemy nations or whatever, having insight on technological advancement. They're not that. They're a little more frugal with how they protect intel than but they are extremely cooperative when it comes to us better understanding what we want to do and how that can tie into an authentic experience.
Sure. So is it mostly the US military that you have conversations with, or is it around military units around the world as well?
For us at Redstorm, our military contacts are all US based, but I know that the Marceau studio has used French Special Forces advisors, but they also have US advisors that they're in contact with as well. And for us, the more we understand, the better. So we wouldn't necessarily be looking to disregard or discount any of the world military information that we could collect. The advisors that we have, it's one of the beauties of being in North Carolina. We have Fort Bragg that's just an hour or two away, so we have access to those soldiers, those organizations, and we have also, because we're in North Carolina, we have access to firearms. So from an authenticity standpoint, our guys can go fire actual machine guns and light machine guns. And I actually, just a few weeks ago, got to fire a military-grade sniper rifle, which was amazing. I'd never fired anything like that before. And having our guys, giving them access to that for not just weapons tuning, but from an animation standpoint, our sound team, they love going on site and setting up their mics to go in there and capture the sounds for the guns, the close proximity sounds, the distance sounds, and doing all that. So having those relationships, it's been a fantastic part of our development.
Could you talk a little bit about Ghost Recon Predator? I know that I was talking to Stuart earlier.
I don't actually know much about Ghost Recon Predator. I was at Redstorm and I left for a few years, went to EA, and I came back and I was working on a new IP team, and then I came over for Future Soldiers, so I really don't know much about it.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah.
Ghost Recon is a well-established franchise, so a sequel seems like a foregone conclusion, like it will happen. Are you actively looking at what's next already, or are you waiting until post-release and then you'll start looking at that?
Well, I mean, the first thing starts with we have an experience that we're very proud of. We have an experience that we're very excited about. Having said that, there were other things that we wanted to do. I've had questions today from some guys about how come you didn't do this? How come you didn't do this? We were focused on making sure that the core experience was there, that all the components tied together, and that primary core experience was there. And then you have have your secondary tier of features, and they've got to be solid. And then you've got your tertiary tier of features, and so on and so forth. So we had things that fell out of development simply due to resources. We didn't want to delay the game another 2 years. We certainly could have. We could have waited 2 more years, and we could have had all this stuff in. But we wanted to get it out. We felt like there was enough of the experience was there. People were really going to get it and really appreciate it. So the first thing that we would start in the event of a sequel would be looking at the things that we had to cut from the initial launch of Ghost Recon Future Soldier that we feel like, man, if we just had this much more fill-in-the-blank resource, time, money, people, whatever, we would have done this system, and that would have been the next thing that we would have gotten in, and that's where we'll start with Future Soldier. Of course, we're very interested in how the experience is received by the community. We know what we want to do, so we're not necessarily looking for the community to help us validate the experience goal that we had, but we're certainly looking for them to help us tune, and help us identify what we think we already know, which is, man, if we only had this thing, we'd be that much better. And those would be the things that we would look to for what would be potentially Future Soldier 2. But we already have a list. We have the list of all the things that we were in total love with that we had to cut for lack of resources. So that's where we would look to first.
Are you looking at the next generation of consoles that are coming up? There's a lot of rumors coming out at the moment. So are you looking at the next Xbox and the next PlayStation and thinking about what you can do on those consoles?
Not at all. Yes, absolutely. Knowing that just from the rumors about when those consoles will be available and typical development cycle, if we were looking at making a Future Soldier 2, and if these consoles were coming out when they were rumored to come out, the timing of that could fall on top of one another. So it could be that if Ghost Recon Future Soldier 2 were to get made, it would end up falling onto the next generation of consoles if those consoles came soon. So yes, it's something that has to be considered with anybody talking about going into development right now for what would be considered a AAA title in terms of development time. You have to be thinking about what the next generation of consoles is going to offer.
Sure. How do you balance the needs of existing fans of the franchise with bringing on new players? How do you work that together?
It's a tough one because we have existing fans that would like us to make the original Ghost Recon game with updated graphics, and that's all. And there's certainly an audience for that, but there's also a need for us to expand the experience. We want to bring in, and we want to have that huge community of support. For us, it comes down to, we know what we want our experience to be. So we're not necessarily looking to the community to help us validate what we already know. We know that there's a need for what we have. What we're looking to is to help people that are the traditional Ghost Recon fans see that tie-in, and then to see the people that are the Call of Duty fans and the Battlefield fans and the Gears fans and all the other great games that are out there, to see that this game will offer them something as well. And the fun part of this for us, and this is what we're really excited about in the beta, is we've seen those players that they'll come in the room and they'll tell you what kind of player they are based on the title they're playing. I'm a Call of Duty guy, and you know what that means. You know what comes with that. I'm a Battlefield, I'm a Gears guy, and then they'll make an assumption about the game, and they'll say, well, I'm going to play this way. And like, great, bring your style into the game, and then they'll evolve that into a Future Soldier style. I'm going to take my Call of Duty style, and I'm going to match it with how I can be most successful in Ghost Recon Future Soldier, and it's going to make me into this kind of player. So it's not like they're going to come in and play Call of Duty. They're not going to come in and play Battlefield. They're not going to come in and play Gears and all those other great games. They're going to play Future Soldier. But their style, their technique, that's going to be influenced and inspired by how they love to play these other great games. That's what we anticipate is going to be the experience for those guys that love that visceral Ghost Recon experience for how it drove that teamwork component. But this is different. This is not that. It's something new. And once they make that connection, they'll see that it's there. And seeing that connection when that click happens, that's been one of the most rewarding things for us in the Fresh Eyes play test. We have the E3 demo that we did was the same way. Seeing those guys that come in with a preconceived notion of what the experience is going to be, and then when they click and they realize, I can do this in this game, but I have to do it in this way, and for them to walk away having really gotten it and really enjoyed it, that's been the most exciting thing. So that's what we're anticipating is going to happen with Ghost Recon.
So you've got the beta being launched tomorrow. Is it tomorrow? Tomorrow over here. Some of the code.
Today, I believe.
Oh, okay.
What is today? Monday. Oh, yeah, it's Monday. Saturday. Yes, it's Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah.
So what are you looking for in terms of the beta? Is that a chance to get people to play the game early, or are you looking to get a lot of information from the beta to augment what you're doing at the moment?
Both. Yes, lots of people to play early, lots of people to give us feedback. Most of the systems that we have in the game are cloud tunable, which means that you don't have to wait for a title update. You don't have to wait for DLC for us to fix things that aren't tuned properly. We're looking for the beta to help us with that. We have the multiplayer in the beta is completely unlocked. The character progression is available all the way to level 50. All the weapons, all the equipment, all the modifications to the guns are all available. We want you to play the game all the way through, experiment with as much equipment, as much of the modifications on the weapons as you can in the gameplay, and then get us as much feedback as possible. So we have the time between the beta and launch to do all that tuning. It's all in the cloud, so it'll all be available day one, and we continue to do that post-launch. So we're absolutely looking for the beta to help us spread the word. We want people to talk about what's working for them and what's not, and we're going to use that opportunity to fix it. And we're also looking for it to be our first large wave of feedback. I mean, up until now, we've had access to the press, we've had access to the public at E3, but it hasn't been the volume that we're going to get for beta. So yeah, we want. Ideally for me, we'll have players playing up to the last minute of the beta, and there'll be guys that are hitting level 50. They will have unlocked everything. They will have created 2 riflemen, 2 engineers, 2 scouts, and taken the other decision points when they came up and tried different weapons. Get in it as much as you can and give us feedback, because that's how we're going to do the best job we can of tuning it, is based on the feedback that we get on the beta.
Sure, excellent. So I've got one final question.
Sure.
Today I'm getting the chance to speak to Evan, Stuart, Eric, and John Mark. If you had to create a squad of 4 from the 5 of you, who would you drop?
Who would I drop? I could go 2 ways with this. I'll give you 2 answers. My first thing is I drop Evan, because then I'm the best player on the team. But I don't want to drop Evan because he's too good. So probably Stuart. Yeah, I'd probably drop Stuart.
That's interesting, because Stuart dropped you as well.
Did he really? Yeah, I would probably. Why did he say he dropped me?
He said because you're a creative director and you were a bit high maintenance. He said.
Is that what he said? See, it's funny.
I don't want to cause fractions.
No, because it's funny that you say that, because I would say I would drop Stuart because he's a producer and he's not a team player. So he just, he tells people, you gotta do my way. He's not playing with the team, so I'd probably say the same thing. Like he's not a team player. Producer.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for sitting down with me.
Oh, absolutely.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, nice to meet you, man.
Thanks.
Thank you for playing. Presented by
Noob Review.